Geto's telling Gojo about his identity and how that reflects his reality. It really showed who had the keys in that situation, the literal strongest in being bound by that title, or the one who was truly in control of their own destiny all along, because they aren't necessarily controlled by a title. This is also about purpose and identity. Who creates it? You or others? Would Gojo be the strongest if he wasn't? If then, who would Gojo be? Notice when asked who Gojo was, they never ask what his adjectives were or what he's like. A narcissist is a role that one is self-imposed. It's placed upon you from outside forces, and you have to balance this identity and reflect it towards reality. The good thing about Gojo is, compared to the average narcissist in real life that rages against normal people, that challenge this frail image, Gojo is in a story, a narrative that doesn't whatsoever challenges his perspective. That is, until he meets a few people who challenge his view. So, to someone who has fully bought into the beliefs, even the Jujutsu Kaisen system, the Zenin clan, curses themselves, and even Jujutsu sorcerers alike have agreed, Gojo doesn't ever need to question his role as the strongest, but everyone else can. And that's the freedom that Geto questions from Gojo in his freedom as a villain. He has gained the freedom from the responsibility of caring for humanity, especially from someone who has not benefited from said system as Gojo has, and instead benefits from a system that does. So, here's the question. Who's really in control of your identity? Here's another question. Are you afraid of fully being yourself, even if it came at a cost? Gojo never had to lose anything with the six eyes and being born into the Zenin clan. Gojo never had to lose anything. And even if he lost his life, almost with Tojiro, he gained more power after his manic episode that reinforced his narcissism. However, with Geto, in his own freedom of choice, he got to take away from Gojo one of the few things Gojo, could have be things that could have been taken away from him. His friendship, and also being understood by someone via a descriptor other than the strongest. Even Yuji, with his idea of accepting the idea from his father of having a good death. This motif of identity imposed upon you, and even the shonen genre, identity, and even someone's will, no matter how good or noble it is, should not be imposed upon you. And that is the purpose of Maki's awakening and Toji's dominance over Gojo. Despite in the Jujutsu system, someone else can dominate you just because they exercise more freedom outside of a system that chose for others who they were. This is perhaps the benefit of Yuji Itadori's growth. His losses were not his fault, and surely by proxy, some if not none of his responsibility. But the submission to be in a cog in a Jujutsu system, and even his regression to this perspective in Modulo. Yuji shows that the sneaking pessimism that returns back to our heroes who are selfless, but regress into villains because the risk to reward ratio becomes too unfair, shows that reasonably living for yourself is a continual maintenance that shouldn't be dropped regardless of if 80 years has passed. You still owe it to yourself. Funny thing, Megamind does this. The movie Megamind does this exact thing in response to expectations.